is how to say, the body have used up the oxygen, hence give them a carbon dioxide in order for them to pass out through the body. All right, let's start now. Since people are waiting now, so let's start the quiz now, lesson in proper now.
Là sao? Chuyện quiz là sao này?
What just happened? Okay, so let's see, what does the human circulatory system consist of? Okay, let's see. So we left two more questions, two more people haven't completed the answer yet. Cat and all right. One more. Okay, I will just end a question. Oh, yes. All done. So did you get the correct answer? Okay. Well, we have only 3% got it correct. The correct answer is, what does the human circulatory system consist of? It consists of a heart, blood vessels, and blood. All right, next question. In 3, 2, and 1. How many types of blood vessels are there? This is quite easy questions. We know that there are arteries, there's vein, there's so on and so forth. So it should be easier for you guys. Okay, we have 2 more person yet. Okay, so let's end the question now. All done. So let's see whether how much did you get. All right, we have there is 3 blood vessels, arteries, veins, and capillaries. All right, next questions. Not to worry about that. We just recap. Okay, which blood vessels is shown in the middle of the image? This question is quite hard because I cover a little bit for this only. All right, so Min and Nyan, any question, any answer for this? All right, if no, I'll just end the questions. All right, let's see. Oh, Tiffany is on top now. So it is a vein in the middle. All right. Next question. What are the 3 major components of our circulatory system? Right, we have. Okay, so let me just end the question now. Ming An is now top. All right. The correct answer is blood, heart, and blood vessels. All right. Next question. In 3, 2, 1, go. Which one of the following describe a vein? This is tricky. Because vein always carries blood to the heart. Because vein is the one that carry the deoxygenated blood from the body to the heart to replace with oxygen. So I'll end the question now, and we got the answer is, let's see who got correct. All right, we have Minna on top, Alex and Tiffany top three. The correct answer is it has thin wall with valves and carry blood to the heart. All right, next question. In 3, 2, 1, go. What is the function of the heart? Well, heart don't transport blood. Heart just stay there at one place doing its own job, whereas the blood vessel will transport the blood away. So by having said that, there's only 3 options, right? So it should be quite easy for the students now. Remember, heart don't move anywhere. It just stay down there at the position there to do its own thing. What is the thing that the heart always do? All right, so that's the heart actually pump blood to the whole body. All right. So in this case, let's see. Oh, we have change of places. Very good. The correct answer is an organ that pump blood throughout the body. A heart is not a fluid. A blood is fluid. I can't imagine if the heart is fluid. Fluid is means liquid. All right. So next question. 3, 2, 1, go. The heart has how many chambers? Remember the video that we watched last lesson? It told you about the chamber, how the blood flow in the heart and out of the heart to the lung and return back to the heart. So from this angle here, right, how many chambers are there in the heart? All right. Let's see the correct answer. Alex is now on top. Mingan second. Ken fourth. So the heart has 4 chambers. All right. Next question. 2, 1, go. What is the role of blood? Blood do what? I mean, blood is a fluid that flow around the blood vessel. Flow is a blood vessel. They carry something. They carry something for the body to be used. And they carry something to throw away. So one side carry something for the body to use. The other side carries something to throw away from the body. So there's 2 directions. So with that, what is the role of blood? Oh, there's still 4 more people yet to answer. 3 more. All right. Let's see. Oh, yep. The blood actually transport nutrients, carry the glucose from the food to the body, carry oxygen, carry waste product, and our human body, we don't make our own food, so we don't carry carbon dioxide for photosynthesis. We do not have photosynthesis in our body. All right. Next question in 3, 2, 1, go. Which one of the following best describe the heart? You know that blood heart always pump, 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 right? Then we know that heart is a muscle that do a squeezing and squeezing so that the blood flow around our body. So with that, I think everyone should get the right answer. Oh, Mingan is first, second is Ken, third is Alex. All right. Next is a muscular pump. It's not a rhythm machine. All right. Even though it's pump, 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 but it's a muscular pump. It's not a rhythm machine that do the rhythm. It follows its own constant beat. All right. 3, 2, 1, go. Next questions. What is the role of blood vessel? I think this one I agree. Yep, this should be easy for some. All right. Alex,
Teacher, I think um transport tubes that carries the blood. I don't know if this is a miss spelling, like you
no,
spell
okay, blood vessel is actually a tube that do transportation of blood. So a
uh,
blood vessel, so there's nothing wrong with the answer. When you look at a blood vessel by itself, right, it's actually a small little tube that it's like it's as a transportation route for the blood to flow. So it's a
so for
transport
me
tube.
it's a bit confusing because
Understand? All right.
transport tube, maybe you can try like something, describe something much more, a bit easier.
All right, sure. No issue with that. No problem. Thanks for feedback. I will take note. Thank you very much. Let's look at that's the last 3 questions. Which one of the following statement is false? Artery carry blood away from the heart. Vein carry blood to the heart and lung. Blood circulate in two paths. Deoxygenated blood is rich in oxygen. This one is only one answer that's wrong. We know that something rich is not D. D is the opposite of something. All right. Oh, Alex is now first, Mina is second, Cat is third. Well, the correct answer is deoxygenated blood is rich in oxygen. When you say deoxygenated, means this particular things is don't have oxygen. Whereas vein carry blood to the heart. Yes, vein carry bloods with all the waste material from the body back to the heart and lung to dispose out. All right. So next question. All right. Blood from lungs to heart is what? Just now I mentioned that deoxygenated means don't have oxygen. So oxygenated means have oxygen. So in this case, from blood from the heart, sorry, blood from the lungs to the heart. It means when someone breathes in, then the blood carried from the lung to the heart is what? All right, let's carry on. The correct answer is oxygenated because blood from the lungs, because when we breathe in, the oxygen goes to the lung, from the lung to the blood vessel to the blood is rich in oxygen. So therefore, blood from lung to heart is oxygenated. Second last question. Blood from the heart to the rest of the body is. Just now we mentioned that lung to heart is oxygenated. So heart to body is. All right, the answer is oxygenated because blood from heart to the body is like is You need to pump in all this oxygen and to the body. So therefore, it is oxygenated. All right. So last question. Now, from the body back to the heart. Just now, from the heart to the body is oxygenated. So now the other way around, from the body to the heart is what? All right, let's carry on. Yes, deoxygenated. Correct. So that's it. I will end the quiz now. So we shall now continue with the lesson improper for today's lesson. Let me just wait for it to load finish first. I think I'll just okay. So let me just stop share the screen and reshare the thing again. Hang on a moment. Let me just fix the computer first. Okay, welcome to week 22 lessons for today, environment interactions. All right. I'll be skipping reproduction in plants, reproduction in animals, and this hereditary because I noticed that some of you the age is not to 11 and above. So therefore I will skip this to future lesson once I can see that we have enough students with the same age level. So we'll go to environment interaction. Some big question to ask yourself about this topic. What is organism? What is a population? What is a habitat? How are the different populations interdependent on each other? What is a community? What is an environment? How do the factors affect the living things? So all these questions, right, you'll be asking yourself, right, when you read through this chapter on environment interactions. So what is an organism? Organism is a living thing. As long as you are someone that need air, food, and water to survive, you are an organism. So organism is a living thing. Some example is dog, earthworm, plant, mushroom, bacteria, human, and many more. We are all called organism. All right. So next question is, what is a population? A population consists of all the organisms of the same kind that live and reproduce in a particular place. For example, all the butterfly in a garden makes up the butterfly population of the garden. All the water lotus in the pond makes up the water lotus population of the pond. All right. So all people who stay and live in Vietnam are part of the population of Vietnam. So basically, as long as it's an organism or the same kind that live and reproduce in the same place, it's called a population. All right. So when we talk about population, we talk about the size. Population size can go both directions, either increase or decrease. How can a population size increase? Population size increase when the organism reproduce. They give birth to more and more young, or there's new organisms moving to the same area. For example, country X, or sorry, country, city X. City X has 1,000 people. Suddenly, after 5 years, city X now become 5,000 people. Why? Because out of this 1,000 people, many get married and give birth to new baby. And also people from other city move into city X. That's why city X population size increase from 1,000 to 5,000. This is one way, this is one of two ways how a population size increase. Of course, when things increase, things can also go downwards, decrease. How does the population size decrease? There are a few pointers. Number one, the organism pass away, die, no one to replace. Organism move away from the area, the birth rate of the area drop, or it happens that there's a disease going on that people pass away or run away, or there's a new threat to their survival. That's why they move away from the area. So population size increase when people move in or they give birth more. Population size decrease when people when organisms pass away, die, and people move away. So these are the two interlink between increase and decrease. Next, what is a habitat? A habitat is a place where a population of organisms lives. This is a place where they can find everything they need, such as food, water, air, space, and shelter to live and reproduce. There are usually more than one population in the same habitat. For example, in a garden, or known as habitat, we can find different population of plants, grasshoppers, snails, ants, and many more. So many population living in the same area, that same area is called a habitat. All right. We living things, we need air, water, and food to survive. But for the habitat to be a habitat, you need to have food, water, air, space, and shelter for the population to live and reproduce. All right. Next, there are many examples of habitats. For example, that we have pond, forest, a rotting log, a pile of leaves, or even your house. I'm not sure about your house, but in my house, there's cockroaches, there's ant populations, there's sometimes there is rats, depending on season, and there's my family members. So there are quite a number of population in my house. All right, next. There are two types of habitat. One is natural, one is man-made. Natural in the sense of mountain, sea, tree, garden, pond, that is natural.
I
Or
don't
we have what we have.
teacher, I don't think garden is like it's like natural because I think garden is also man-made.
Yeah, garden can be natural or man-made. Thanks for your clarification. Yes, garden can be natural. It's like today I want to find, okay, this area now is a garden. So it's called a natural garden. But if I order the build of, or sorry, if a people order some place to be built as a garden, it will be a man-made. So for garden, there's two sides, natural or man-made, depending on the circumstances, correct? So now let's look at man-made. We have zoo, cages, and aquarium. So in the zoo, we have giraffe, lions, rhinoceros, and so on and so forth. So these are all different populations in the zoo. All right. Next, how different populations depend on each other in a habitat? Well, we know that in a habitat, there's different kinds of population. So there is no such thing called one habitat, one population. No, it's one habitat. There's many populations of organisms. So all the population living in a habitat are linked together. They may depend on each other for survival. For example, the animal population depends on the plant population for what? Shelter and protection, food and oxygen. Why? Because the plant go through the process called photosynthesis in the day and give out oxygen for the animal to use. All right. Then the plant population depends on the animal population for what? For pollination, to disperse their seed away to a new place to grow their young, and nutrients, the animal waste that will enrich the soil to act as a fertilizer for the plant to use. So this is how two different populations interdependent on each other in a habitat. All right. Next, we're talking about habitat, population. So let's look at community. What is a community? Well, a community consists of different population of organisms living together and interacting in a single habitat. Habitat refers to a place. Community refers to all the population staying in the habitat. All right, and bear in mind that the population in the community are interdependent on each other as they live and depend on one another for survival. All right, next. Some important questions, some important things, do not be confused. People always think that the community found in a habitat such as the forest community is the same community found in similar habitat other forests. This is wrong. All right, why do I say so? Because each habitat supports a different community or population of organisms depending on the factors like whether is it enclosed, open area, is it hot, is it very cold, how many food are there available, how many water are there, what's the size. So all these things are actually factors that depending whether can the particular population survive. You cannot ask a penguin to live in a desert. Penguin live in Antarctica. Well, Antarctica is a flat land. Desert is also a flat land. Cannot be penguin found in a flat land in Antarctica means penguin can live in desert. It's a totally different climax. So that's why each habitat support different community or population. There's no such thing called whatever you can find in this habitat means in another habitat can be found the same thing as well. It's different. All right. So now look at the pond community. Today now we're going to look at pond community. From here you should be able to see what are the different population. We have the dragonfly. We have this species here. We have this frog, tadpole. We have this water snails, fishes, duck, so on and so forth. So all these made up of the pond community. So today's lesson we're going to look at pond community as an example. Usually in a pond community, there are 4 different type of population. We have the plant population, we have the animal populations, we have the fungi population, and microorganism populations. So as long as you are living in the water on the land near the pond, you can be part of a pond community. All right, next. Let's look at the plant populations. As discussed and mentioned in lesson number 4 or number 3, there are 3 types of plants in a pond community. We have the floating plants that float freely on the surface of water. We have the partially submerged plants, whereby the roots of this to the soil at the bottom of the pond, but the flower, leaf, and fruits and seeds are above the surface. We have a totally submerged plant, which is all underwater. Some examples are floating is duckweed, water lettuce. Partially we have water lily, and totally submerged we have all this, so on and so forth. All right. After looking at the pond plant population, let's look at the animal populations. For animal population, we classify into 3 different categories. We have near the pond, on the pond surface. We have totally submerged. I think this one is I made a mistake here. It should be underwater animal. So let me just make some adjustment before we proceed first. So for this case, right, this is no. Okay, it should be underwater animal. Okay, so for this case, right, we have near the pond we have birds and dragonfly. Then for on the pond surface we have pond skater and water crickets, and underwater we have fish and tadpole. All right, so let us carry on. Okay, so let me just set up my screen now. My screen hang. All right, so now we look at the fungi population. Fungi that grew on fallen leaves on a bank of the pond, near the pond, is considered part of the pond community. We have some example is the bracket fungus and mushroom. So all these bracket fungus that's near the pond is part of the pond community as well. Next, we have microorganisms. Well, we do have some tiny microorganism living in the pond as well. We have algae. So we have algae that found beneath the surface of the water, and we have these found inside the water itself. Now, remember I mentioned to you that there's one population increase or decrease. When population decrease, there's some factors that leads to the organism running away from the place, or for the organism to choose a nice place for them to stay. So these are the four important factors that affects the living thing, whether do they want to stay here or they want to live here. First thing first, we have light. The amount of light from the sun affects the temperature of our surrounding. Plants needs light energy to carry out photosynthesis. But there's one important thing, different plants have different light requirement. Some prefer in the shade, some prefer little sunlight, some prefer strong sunlight. If they are in the place, if they are in the place that they are used to, they will not die. But if they are in a place that they are not used to it, they will die. Lights helps predators such as eagle to see their prey. Some animals wait for no lights to come out in order to avoid being eaten by others like eagles. Some like earthworm, they cannot survive in bright conditions, so they totally go underground. That's where there's no light. All right. Next, we have temperature and water. Most organisms or most living things are adapted to live in a particular temperature range. They cannot survive beyond the range. When the temperature get too hot or too cold for them, they may die. One example is penguin can survive in cold place, but not a desert. Same thing here. Teacher Andrew can survive in Southeast Asia, Singapore, Vietnam. But if you throw Teacher Andrew to the Arctic or Antarctica, Teacher Andrew will die. So this is how I always explain to my students. All right. So if the temperature is not right, people or organism will leave the place to search for a better place to live in. They will not sit down there to die. All right. Next, we have the water. All living things need water to carry out life processes. The temperature of the surrounding affects the amount of water available to them. If the degrees is below 0 degrees or lower, the water freeze, and there's less water for them to drink. They will run away to other place, look for water source. If the temperature is room temperature, water just nice and available, like what we are doing now, when we drink water, people like to stay here in this temperature range. But above room temperature, the desert, water will evaporate and there's less water for them to drink. So no living things, in fact, likes to live in the temperature that's above room temperature, given a choice. All right. Next, we have the food factors, whereby the availability of the food can affect the survival of an organism. Plants can make their own food. So as long as they have sunlight, carbon dioxide, and water, they are fine. But if any one of those missing, they will die also because they can't make their own food. Because plants don't have mouth to eat. If there's not enough food in the area, the organism will need to leave to search for other food in other area, else it will die. For instance, if I'm going to a place for vacation, that particular place do not have the food that I like or that I can eat, I will have to either go find some food that I can eat, or I have to starve for the whole day. So same theory here. If I want to eat, I have to go to other place to find food to eat. So same theory for these food factors. If there's not enough food in the area, the living things there will need to live and search for food in other area. All right. Well, talking about food, in our next lesson, we will be learning about food chain. Food chain meaning next lesson we'll be learning about A eat B, B eat C, C eat D. Who is the strongest? So all these things we're going to learn about next lesson. But for now, let me play a video to summarize what I have go through today's lesson. All right, enjoy.
Hey! Down here! Some more! That's right. Hello, I'm Key, the talking tree. Many other organisms live on or around me. Did you know that all organisms here need one another to live? When living things depend on one another to live, we say that they are interdependent. Let's see how the organisms need one another. Some animals, like these birds, live in trees. They are safe and sheltered on the strong branch. Looks like Mummy is busy right now. Let's move somewhere else. Here's another animal which lives among the branches. Look at this! The spider's beautiful web is its home. Did you know that it is also a trap for its food? Insects are trapped in this web and they become a meal for the spider. This is a tree lizard, and it lives on my branches too. It also eats insects. See this? It looks like a nest, doesn't it? If I were a bird, I might mistake it for my home. Actually, it's a bird nest fern and is using the tree as a support. Look, it is actually growing on the tree. This is the dragon scale fern. The leaves are just like the scales of a dragon. It also uses the tree as a support to grow on. Well, trees don't just provide support and shelter to animals and other plants. They also provide food to some organisms. Let's look at some examples. This caterpillar does nothing but eat leaves the whole day. The tree will be its home and source of food until this big eater grows into a beautiful butterfly. What are these? These little insects are aphids. They also feed on leaves. The aphid uses a needle-like tube to suck the sap in the leaves. This bird also depends on trees for food. It eats the fruit. These fruit bats are usually awake at night. They are nocturnal. They sleep in the day and are active at night. They too feed on fruit. These monkeys eat many things. When they eat fruit with seeds, they help to disperse the seeds. They spend most of their time in the trees. I like this bee. It comes to the flowers looking for nectar and pollen. As it flies from flower to flower, the bee helps to pollinate the flowers. The pollinated flowers will develop into fruit with seeds. From the seeds, new plants can be produced. This is not a pretty sight. Here it comes. You won't want this to fall on you. But did you know that birds' droppings help to make the soil around our roots fertile? And fertile soil helps us to grow strong and healthy. Well, boys and girls, you have seen some of the organisms living on or around trees. Some of them use trees as their home. Others need trees as food. And of course, many of them help trees to live. They are all interdependent. Together, they make up a community. A community is made up of many different organisms living together and depending on one another to survive. Sometimes you can find many different creatures living in one tree. In that case, we can say that it is a one-tree community. So, the next time you pass by a tree, take a look. See if you can find some of the organisms you saw just now.
Hi there. I'm a crab, a ghost crab. And this seashore is where I live. It's my habitat. I'm not alone, of course. Many other organisms live here. See if you know their names. Well, have you seen them before? These other crabs sharing the habitat with me make up a population of crabs. Within a habitat, all the living things of one type make a population. Crabs are not the only creatures here, of course. The seashore habitat is filled with different populations of organisms. Together, they form a seashore community. Organisms living in a habitat have to deal with several factors. Let's look at some of the factors affecting them. The first factor is the type of water. All organisms in the seashore community can live in water. But it's not just any type of water, it's sea water. Another factor is the tide. This habitat is sometimes underwater and sometimes not. Animals here must cope with these wet and dry periods. At low tide, these barnacles are out of the water. The barnacles can tolerate the dry periods because they have these hard, protective shells to hide in. When it's high tide, they come out of their shells to feed. Other animals have different ways of hiding when it's low tide. The changing tides also affect the way in which they get air. All living things need air to live. This turtle can breathe only when it is out of water. It has lungs. These fish can breathe only in water. They have gills. Some organisms, like this crab, have special gills which allow them to breathe both in and out of water. The third factor is the temperature. It's a bright and sunny day. Yes, it can become very hot here. And on a hot day like this, the seashore community usually stays buried in the sand or hidden under rocks. When will it be over? This is the kind of day I like. Can you see these animals up and about? Isn't it nice and cool? The fourth factor is the availability of food. Like most of us, the organisms here enjoy food. They feed on different types of food. Some eat only plants, and others eat only animals. As for creatures like me, we eat both plants and animals. Animals that hunt and eat other animals are called predators. And the animals being eaten are called prey. As you have seen, the seashore habitat is affected by many factors. The type of water is one factor. The seashore habitat is also affected by the tides, by the temperature, and by the amount of food available. It's an interesting place, isn't it? Can you think of any other factors which affect our lives?
Okay, what you just saw is the primary school videos that's used in Singapore to teach the primary school kids in Singapore what is environmental interactions and how different organisms and living things live together interdependent on one another. All right, so I'll be sharing this video later in Zalo. For now, let me end the screen now, and then let me open up the quiz for today's lesson. Oh yes, Alice.
Teacher, can I ask you questions?
Sure.
What are the differences between the tide and the sea?
What are the differences between what? Tides?
Tides and seas?
You mean TIDES, is it?
No, it's mean this.
You mind? Sorry, I can't really hear. I think my episode problem. So what are the? You mind typing out the questions? Oh, tide and sea is it? Okay. Okay. Tide, right? TIDE, right? Tide is actually how to put it? It's actually the rise and fall of sea level caused by the gravitational force of the moon. So when there's high tide, means the sea level will basically increase. When there's low tide, the sea level will decrease. So the tides is depending on where is the moon location, what is the gravitational pull of the moon, and that's how waters move around, all the waves move around in the ocean. Yep.
Yeah.
Thank
And next question.
Sure.
When when we live in a habitat that don't have food that are suitable for us, and we can find a food that like we don't eat it is every day and it's not suitable for us, such as sprouts or uh, mushrooms or some like different plants, yeah, etc. And can we eat it to survive?
Not, I would say that in a habitat, right, not all food is edible by some species. I would say that in a habitat, each different living things can find their own food in that area. So doesn't mean to say that if I live in one area, right, all the food here I can eat. No, some food can be poisonous to us, but to the other creatures, it can be a delicacy. All right, that's just I believe there's one. I can't remember the name. There's one fruit that avocado. Avocado, humans we can eat it, but the animals I don't think they can eat it. But I read one article that avocado is a poison to the dogs. So it's depend on how your body react. Doesn't mean to say that if you are living in one area means all the food you can eat. It's just saying that if you are living in one area, you can find your food here availability for you.
Thank you.
Yep. All right. So let's go to the quiz now. Let me stop share the screen first. Okay, let's go to the quiz now. Okay, let me open up the quiz first. One moment. Quiz it join. Okay. Let me share the screen now. All right. No, okay, let me go to the my library. Environment interactions. Start live quiz. All right. So classic. Okay. All right, students. Let me share. You should see the screen already. Okay. So. All right. This is the quiz now. Let me share the link in the Zoom. All right, you see the quiz in the Zoom now, so you can join the quiz for today's lesson. Okay, so let me go back to the okay. So, all right, I see people joining now. That's great. Okay, we have 9 participants now. 11. 11. Okay. 50 participants now. All right, anyone want to join? 16. What else? $18 anymore? I will start this quiz in a 1 minute time. All right, 19. Anyone want to join? We have 35 participants here. We have 30 more seconds for you guys to join. All right, in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, start. The question here will be quite difficult for you guys. Not to worry. All right, I will end the quiz now. All right, I'll end now. All right, we have the top trees here. All right, this lesson may be quite how to say, it will be quite difficult, but not to worry. We will try a recaps quiz next week. So next week we're going to talk about food web. As in this particular living things eat what animals or what plants in the habitat next week. All right. With that, our end lesson for today is 8:02 p.m. Vietnam time, 9:02 in Singapore. So take care. Good night, everyone. Bye.
Goodbye. See you again.
Bye. See you again.
Bye, teacher.
Bye. See you next year. Bye bye.
Bye bye, teacher.
All right. Bye. See you.
See you soon.